continuation with the series Database Management System. The topic of today's discussion is the Relational Model Part 2. The objectives are concept of candidate key and primary key, concept of foreign key, relational data integrity, and concept of nulls. First of all, let us see the definition of candidate keys. Let R be a relation, then candidate key for R is a subset of the set of attributes of R, say K, such that the following two properties are satisfied. First property is uniqueness property and second property is irreducibility property. Now, what do you mean by uniqueness property? Uniqueness property defines that no two distinct tuples of R have the same values for K, and the irreducibility property defines that no proper subset of K has uniqueness property. Let us understand these two properties with this example. This is an example of warehouse relation. It has three attributes: warehouse ID, region ID, and location. We can see from this relation that the values of warehouse ID are all distinct values, but in case of region ID values and the location values, the values are repeating for two cases. That's why in this case the warehouse ID is the candidate key of this relation. The characteristics of candidate keys are: most relations tend to have exactly one candidate key. It is certainly possible to have more than one. That means generally in a relation we have one candidate key, but it may happen you can get more than one candidate key also. Candidate keys are defined to be sets of attributes. We use braces or brackets to refer them. For example, if warehouse ID is the candidate key, then we can define warehouse ID as like this in the bracket or in the braces. A candidate key that involves more than one attribute is said to be composite. A candidate key that involves exactly one attribute is said to be simple. That means in a case where you are getting only one attribute as a candidate key, that time we can say the candidate key is a simple candidate key, and wherever you are getting a combination of the attributes as a candidate key, there we can say the candidate key is a composite candidate key. For example, in this case, this warehouse ID is a simple candidate key, but if you say the combination of warehouse ID and region ID is a candidate key, that time we can say this is your composite candidate key. True candidate keys should not include any attributes that are irrelevant for unique identification purposes. Now we will get the concept of primary keys and alternate keys. It is possible for a given relation to have more than one candidate key. That time, one of those candidate keys is the primary key for that relation, and the remainder keys are called as alternate keys. Let us understand the concept of candidate key, primary key, and alternate key from this relation. Here we can see the serial number is also a candidate key and the S name is also a candidate key. If serial number you are taking as a primary key, then S name will be the alternate keys. Next we will get the concept of foreign keys. Foreign keys, like candidate keys, are defined to be sets of attributes. We use braces or brackets to refer them. Every value of a given foreign key is required to appear as a value of the matching candidate key. Let us understand the concept of foreign key from these two relations. Here we see the warehouse relation and the regions relation. In warehouse, the warehouse ID is the candidate key or the primary key, and in region relation, the region ID is the candidate key. In case of the warehouse relation, the region ID is known as the foreign key because it matches the values of the candidate key region ID of the regions relation. A given foreign key will be composite if and only if the candidate key it matches is composite too. Each component attribute of a given foreign key must be defined on the same domain as the corresponding component of the matching candidate key. There is no requirement that a foreign key be a component of the primary key or of some candidate key. A foreign key value represents a reference to the tuple containing the matching candidate key. Now we will get the concept of relational data integrity. First of all, let us see what do you mean by integrity. Integrity refers to the accuracy of the data stored in a database. There are two types of relational integrity. One is entity integrity and another is referential integrity. Now what do you mean by entity integrity rule? It says that every value of the primary key must be unique and must not be null. That means in a relation, when you are defining one attribute as a primary key, that primary key should be distinct and should not be null. All rows inserted into a relational table must meet the entity integrity rule. Ideally, the primary key should be defined in the create table command. In this example, we can see how to define the primary key in a create table command. Create table, this is the syntax of creating the table. Products is the table name or the relation name. Prod ID is the attribute name. Character is the data type. 4 is the data width. Not null means in this attribute you can't enter the null values. Description is the second attribute, character data type, and 20 is the data width. Prod code is the third attribute, character data type, and 2 is the data width. Similarly, price is the fourth attribute, decimal is the data type of this attribute, and 10,2 is the width of this data. Now we can define like this primary key, prod ID. This way you can define any attribute as the primary key in the create table command. What is referential integrity? Let us see. Referential integrity is achieved when a set of values in a foreign key column is restricted to the primary key that it references or to the null value. Let us understand the concept of referential integrity from this example. Here we can see in warehouse relation, the region ID is the foreign key and it references the region ID, which is the candidate key of the region relation. Now there may be one question, what should happen on an attempt to delete the target of a foreign key reference. There are two possibilities. One possibility is restricted, another possibility is cascaded. In restricted, the delete operation is restricted to the case where there are no such matching values. But in cascaded, the delete operation cascades to delete all the matching values. Here we can see, if you want to delete the region ID from regions relation, in case of restricted property we cannot do that because there are some matching values in the warehouse relation. But in case of cascaded property, if we delete the region ID from regions relation, corresponding the region ID values in the warehouse relation also will be deleted. Now next question is, what should happen on an attempt to update a candidate key that is the target of a foreign key reference? Similar answer is this. There are two possibilities. One is restricted, another is cascaded. In restricted, the update operation is restricted to the case where there are no such matching values. But in cascaded, the update operation cascades to update all the matching values also. Now we will get the concept of nulls. Nulls are intended as a basis for dealing with the problem of missing information. For example, when you will do the data entry in the database, if you don't know any information, for example date of birth, then you can represent that missing information with the help of null value. This rule applies to only primary keys. Alternate keys might or might not have nulls allowed. If alternate keys allows nulls to enter, that alternate key we cannot use as primary key. But if we use alternate keys and if we enter the null values in the alternate keys, that alternate key can be used as a primary key in future. Now the concept of foreign keys and nulls. The relational model has permitted nulls to appear in foreign key positions. There may be one question again, what should happen now on an attempt to delete the target of a foreign key reference? For example, if you now want to delete any values in the region ID of the regions relation, which is some matching values in the warehouse relation, then what we will do? You can do like that. You can set the foreign key value, that means the region ID of warehouse relation as null, and then the region ID of the region relation you can delete. In this session, I hope you have understood about the concept of candidate keys and primary keys, concept of foreign keys, relational data integrity, and the concept of nulls. Thank you.